On New Year's Day, I was traveling home for the holiday when my husband found me at the station. He had one arm draped protectively around Tiffany Moore, the woman he'd never gotten over, and held out a standing room ticket to me, unapologetic and fully convinced he was in the right. "Swap with her," he said flatly. "This is Tiffany's ticket. You two trade." When I just stood there, Liam Carter gave me a rough shove. "Sophia Bennett. I'm talking to you. You hear me? Tiffany's pregnant. Give her your sleeper berth." I finally lifted my head, staring coldly at the pair of them. "No," I said flatly. "It's my ticket. Why should I give it to Tiffany?" The phantom pain of being torn apart by a train still thrumming through every bone in my body, I hugged my arms tight to myself. Not this time. I would never bend to their will again. Liam hadn't expected me to turn him down in public, and the humiliation pricked at his pride. Right there in front of all the other passengers, he started laying into me. "Sophia, Tiffany's only 3 months along. Her pregnancy's still fragile. You're a woman too. How can you have zero sympathy? You're perfectly healthy. Can't you help someone who's more vulnerable?" Tiffany rested a hand on her stomach and pushed it out slightly, looking up at me with wounded, doe-eyed pleading. "Sophia, I don't want to take your birth. I don't feel well. Please, have a little pity on me. It took me so long to get pregnant. The doctor said I can't overexert myself." I hated to ask, but I didn't know what else to do. She dabbed at her eyes with her fingertips, performing her tears for the crowd. Tag-teaming each other, they painted me as a heartless monster. Soon the surrounding passengers had seen enough and started chiming in, urging me to give in. "She's pregnant. What's the big deal about giving up your seat? It's not like it'll kill you." If that were my friend, I'd hand over my ticket without a second thought. "Look how pale she is. How can you be so cruel?" I stared coolly at the armchair critics around me. Of course. People loved being generous with other people's sacrifices, so long as they didn't have to give up anything themselves. In my past life, I'd caved to exactly this kind of pressure. Ground down by their judgment, I'd swapped tickets with Tiffany. She'd curled up comfortably in the berth I'd paid for and slept like a baby the whole ride. I'd tried halfway through to ask if we could switch back, but Liam had shut me down cold, sanctimonious as ever. "Don't disturb a pregnant woman's rest." So I'd stood in that crammed train car for over 40 straight hours, exhausted, my legs throbbing and weak. When we finally pulled into the station, I stumbled off the train on unsteady legs. I lost my balance for a split second and bumped into Tiffany, who was walking ahead of me. Clutching her stomach like she was in agony, she turned on me with venom in her eyes. "Sophia. I just borrowed your berth for a little while. Are you really trying to kill my baby?" I'd barely opened my mouth to say it had been an accident when Liam backhanded me so hard I stumbled backward. "Bitch," he'd snarled. "Stay the hell away from Tiffany." I'd lost my footing, slipped, and tumbled straight onto the tracks below. An oncoming train hit me before anyone could react. The police ruled my death an accident. It didn't disrupt Liam or Tiffany's lives in the slightest. If anything, my death had been convenient. Liam inherited my house, my savings, everything, and moved Tiffany right in, living shamelessly off what had been mine. I pulled myself back to the present. The ghost of that tearing, crushing pain still lingered in my muscles and bones. I looked at Liam, at the man who only had eyes for Tiffany, and felt nothing but cold, hollow disappointment. 3 years of marriage. I'd truly believed my care and devotion would soften him, that he'd learn to love me back. Instead, with every passing day, he'd only grown more entitled, taking everything I gave him for granted and demanding more. The face that had once drawn me in now filled me with nothing but disgust. I crossed my arms and smiled coldly. "It's my ticket." I said no, and I mean no. Liam's temper flared at my refusal. "Sophia, stop being so unreasonable. Tiffany's pregnant. I let out a flat, unimpressed "oh." If she's pregnant, why did she buy a standing room ticket? Tiffany's face flushed bright red. I didn't let up. Knowing you're pregnant and buying a standing ticket anyway, then trying to guilt-trip people with sleeper berths into giving them up, anyone would think you were running a scam. She doesn't care enough about her own baby to plan ahead. Why should a stranger care more than she does? I paused, glancing slowly around at all the watching passengers. People might start thinking that baby's mine, for all the responsibility everyone wants me to take for it. Even if that kid called me mom, I'd have to think about whether I wanted to claim it. Tiffany's eyes welled up with tears, her face crumpling with hurt. Sophia, how can you say such terrible things? You bought that ticket for me. You know you did. How can you lie about me like this? I told you I was pregnant when I asked you to get me a ticket, and you deliberately bought me a standing room one. Is it because you can't have kids of your own? You're so bitter you want to hurt my baby? I'm pregnant. I can't stand for hours on end. Her voice broke, and she dissolved into shaky sobs. I hadn't expected her to twist the narrative around on me so fast. Beside her, Liam looked absolutely distraught. He pulled Tiffany into his arms without a single care for who might be watching. Shoo, don't cry. It's bad for the baby. He turned to me, voice thick with anger and self-reproach. This is all my fault. I asked Sophia to get you a ticket, but I never thought she'd do something this cruel. Women can be absolutely ruthless when they're jealous. Even the passengers who'd started to quiet down flared up again. They turned first to soothe Tiffany. Ah, honey, you gotta keep your stress levels down when you're pregnant. Don't cry. We've got your back. Nobody's gonna let anything happen to you. Then they rounded on me, lecturing and sharp. How can you be like this? You knew she was pregnant and you bought her a standing ticket? Have you got no heart at all? You look put together, young, educated, and you'd do something this awful? It's disgraceful. I stood there, perfectly calm, as they yelled. I watched Liam and Tiffany clinging to each other, and the corner of my mouth tugged up in a faint smile. Oh. So this is all my fault, is it? My sudden shift in tone caught them off guard. They blinked, then hurried to agree, thinking I was backing down. Well, if you know you're wrong, then hand over the berth to the pregnant lady already. That's more like it. It's never too late to do the right thing. I held Liam and Tiffany's gaze, and I didn't miss the flash of triumph in both their eyes. Think you can steal my berth? Not a chance. Just as everyone was starting to relax, my lazy, drawling voice cut through again. It's true, Tiffany did ask me to buy her a ticket. The passengers stared at me, confused. But she only sent me $100. And she expected me to buy her a $500 sleeper berth. Like my bank account's her personal ATM. Someone tell me, am I supposed to just eat the difference? Be a sucker and pay for her ticket out of my own pocket? My voice was heavy with helpless frustration, like I was the wronged one. The passengers, who'd been so furious a moment ago, went wide-eyed. They glanced at me, then snapped their heads toward Tiffany. Her face turned bright, burning red. I sighed. Look, I see everyone here cares so much. And I'm not some unreasonable person. If any kind soul here wants to give up their own berth to this pregnant woman, I'll Venmo them that $100 right now. I'm sure everyone would be happy to help out a pregnant lady, right? The second I finished speaking, every single passenger who'd been so loud and self-righteous a minute ago went dead silent. Of course. The moment it cost them something personally, they all clammed up. Nobody wanted a thankless, money-losing favor. Only Liam stayed firm, shielding Tiffany. Sophia, stop guilt-tripping other people. This is your fault. Why are you making everyone else deal with it? I smiled sweetly at him. Oh, so he knew what guilt-tripping was, did he? It was fine when they did it to me, but the second I turned it back around, suddenly it was wrong. Classic double standard. Before long, our argument drew the conductor over. She looked at me sternly. Train's about to depart. Everyone, please return to your assigned seats. Tiffany suddenly clutched her stomach, face twisting with obvious, performative agony. Ow, oh God, my stomach hurts so bad all of a sudden. The conductor's face tightened with concern. Ma'am? What's wrong? Tiffany looked up at her, pitiful and breathless, like she might pass out any second. I'm pregnant. Still in the first trimester, it's risky. And I've been standing for so long. When I'd bought the tickets, I'd specifically picked a lower and an upper berth. Mine was the lower one. Liam's was upper. Without a second thought, the conductor guided Tiffany over to my lower berth and sat her down. Tiffany acted like she'd been startled, and nervously started to stand back up. I can't. She doesn't want me here. Her face was all wounded fear, but her tone was clearly meant to tattle, to make the conductor take her side. Sure enough, the conductor fell for it. She put a hand on Tiffany's shoulder, holding her down, then turned to me with a sharp, disapproving look. This is your berth? I nodded calmly. The conductor's frown deepened. Ma'am, looking out for those who need it is basic decency. We're all taught to give up our seats for the elderly, the sick, and pregnant women. How can you be so selfish? Ms. Moore is pregnant. We should be helping her, not turning a cold shoulder. Look how pale and exhausted she is. Sitting in your berth for a little while won't hurt you. If everyone acted like you, there'd be no kindness left in the world. The surrounding passengers nodded along with the conductor. That woman's so mean. Refuses to give up her seat for a pregnant lady. Tell me about it. We've been trying to talk sense into her forever and she won't budge. Thank God you're here. Someone needs to give her a good talking to. She has no morals. Liam chimed in, pouring fuel on the fire. And they're supposed to be friends. She won't even give up a seat for her. The conductor looked even more appalled. If you know her, that's even worse. How can you be so cold? Your friend's pregnant and you just stand there? Some friend you are. I paid for this ticket. Tiffany looked up at the conductor, putting on a show of being humble and reasonable. Ma'am, I know you're trying to help. But if Sophia doesn't want to let me have it, that's fine. I'll just go to the standing car. That was all it took to trigger the conductor's protective instinct. She firmly pressed Tiffany back down onto the berth. Enough. You stay right here. Nobody's making you move. Tiffany shot me a triumphant look from under her lashes. Thanks, Sophia. I owe you one. She held out her standing room ticket to me. The conductor gave my arm a firm, admonishing pat. Go on, head to your car. Train's leaving any minute. With that, she moved on to the next car. Liam plopped down next to Tiffany, patiently peeling an orange for her. Over his shoulder, he called to me, smug as anything. Hey, Sophia. If you need anything over there, you can always come find us. No sooner had he spoken than the older women nearby started murmuring approvingly about what a good, caring man he was. I stood by the window, crumpling the standing ticket in my fist. Tiffany stared at me, smug. You should have just given me the seat in the first place. All that standing made my back ache. She shot Liam a playful, complaining glance. Liam soothed her, all soft, indulgent smiles. She's just being difficult. Don't let her upset you, it's bad for the baby. He started gently rubbing her lower back, and Tiffany made a soft, coy little sound of appreciation. Anyone watching would have thought they were the married couple. Looking at them now, I realized my marriage to Liam had always been a joke. He'd married me for my money, and given his heart to Tiffany. Some great guy he was. I watched their shameless, public display for a moment longer, then turned and walked out of the sleeper car. I found my way to the dining car and borrowed a portable megaphone. I hit record, spoke into it, then hit play. Soon the megaphone's voice boomed through the train. Attention all passengers. Attention all passengers. There is a pregnant woman in the sleeper car of Amtrak Train 58 showing signs of miscarriage. If there is a doctor on board, please report to the sleeper car immediately. Your assistance is needed. Thank you. I'd barely gotten halfway through when the conductor found me and cut it off. She glowered at me. What do you think you're doing? I put on a frantic, worried face. Please, my friend was just complaining about terrible stomach pain. I'm scared she's going to lose the baby. You have to help me. The conductor remembered Tiffany's earlier outburst of pain, and without a second thought, she joined me in hunting for a doctor. Between the two of us, we rounded up 4 or 5 OBGYNs in less than 15 minutes. When I led the doctors back to the car, Tiffany was lounging comfortably on my berth, scrolling through shows on her phone. She frowned when she saw me. This isn't your seat anymore. What are you doing back here? The next second, I threw myself at her arm, voice thick with concern. Tiffany, don't worry. I found doctors for you. Everything's gonna be okay with the baby. Tiffany froze, caught completely off guard by my sudden display. What are you talking about? Liam walked back in with a bottle of water, and when he saw me holding Tiffany's arm, he shoved me hard away from her. What are you doing back here? Tiffany's pregnant. Can't you just leave her alone? This time, everyone around, including the doctors behind me, looked at Liam like he was crazy. One of the doctors spoke up, defensive on my behalf. This woman was worried your wife was having a miscarriage. She went out of her way to find us. Nobody's bullying anyone. At the word wife, Liam flicked a nervous glance my way. I ignored him completely, hurrying the doctors toward Tiffany. Please, doctor, check on my friend. She was in so much pain just a minute ago. The doctors moved in to examine her without hesitation. But before they could even touch her, Tiffany flinched away. I'm fine. I don't need a checkup. I grabbed her arm and pulled her forward, firm but urgent. You're about to be a mom. You can't avoid medical help when something's wrong. Come on, let the doctors check you out. Make sure you're not miscarrying. Even the other passengers started urging her on. Weren't you just saying your stomach hurt? Your friend cares enough to find you doctors. Let them look. Just get checked. What if something's wrong with the baby? Trapped by the crowd and the doctor's insistence, Tiffany reluctantly let them examine her. 4 or 5 doctors took turns checking her over, frowning now and then, until finally they turned to me. Your friend's baby is perfectly healthy. She's 4 months along, and the pregnancy is very stable. Oh. 4 months, huh? Before I could say anything, Tiffany jumped in, relieved. Oh, thank goodness. I was worried all the stress earlier had hurt the baby. The doctor nodded. As long as you don't run or jump around, this pregnancy is solid. No issues at all. I pounced on the opening. So standing for a while is good for pregnant women, then? The doctor didn't catch my meaning, but answered dutifully. Light activity is fine. It can actually make labor easier. Tiffany opened her mouth to argue, but I cut her off sharp. You hear that? You've been camped out in my berth for half an hour. Now get up and go back to your own car. The doctors just stood there, stunned. Tiffany clung to the blanket, refusing to move, and looked pleadingly at Liam. Liam, who'd been quiet a minute ago, jumped to her defense. The conductor already said Tiffany can have this berth. Are you deaf? Or just forgetful? I looked at him calmly. So even though she's perfectly healthy, you still think she gets to take my seat? Yes. Why can't you have a little compassion? I smiled. That was exactly what I wanted him to say. I sank down onto the floor, burying my face in my hands and starting to cry, loud, hurt, for the whole car to hear. Someone tell me how I'm supposed to live like this. Is it my fault I have money? Does that mean I have to be everyone's doormat? Is that why you think you can flaunt your mistress right in front of me, your legal wife? Because I have money and you think I'll just take it? That single sentence set the whole car buzzing. Oh, Liam loved weaponizing the crowd, didn't he? Fine. Let them see the real face of his precious star-crossed lover's act. Everyone here had thought Tiffany was his wife. They had no idea I was the actual spouse. The crowd's attention snapped straight to Liam. Even the conductor, standing back by the doctors, looked stunned. That's a lie. Liam roared, furious. I blinked at him, innocent. Aren't you my husband? He couldn't deny that. I pointed at the two of them, pressed so close together. And aren't you holding Tiffany? So what am I lying about? Liam snatched his hand off Tiffany's shoulder like he'd been burned. You're making things up. I was just looking out for her because she's pregnant. Don't make this into something dirty. If I hadn't died once already, I might have almost believed him. I knew now just how long they'd been sleeping together. When Liam and I got married, we'd agreed we'd be dinks at dual income, no kids. He'd never pushed back. I'd thought he'd meant it, that he'd thought it through just like I had. But looking at Tiffany's stomach now, I got it. The Carter family, broke as they were, apparently had a royal throne to pass down. At his lame excuse, I cried harder. I even bought your sleeper ticket for you. You spend my money on your mistress and you act like you're in the right? The passengers, who'd been so angry at me minutes ago, suddenly put the whole story together. Anyone would be furious in my shoes. They turned their wrath straight on Tiffany. You're the mistress and you have the nerve to ask the wife to buy you a ticket? And a sleeper berth, no less? You have no shame. Tell me about it. You should be keeping your head down, not begging for money out in the open. I felt bad for you earlier? Please. You got pregnant to trap a man. You're no better than you should be. You're young, and this is what you do? Steal someone's husband? People like you get what's coming to you. Tiffany couldn't get a word in edgewise as the passengers tore into her. She cowered behind Liam, scared. Liam didn't dare argue with the whole crowd, so he turned his anger on me instead. Sophia, make them stop. You're gonna let them spread lies and ruin people's reputations? You know defamation's illegal, right? You could go to jail for this. I thought, disgusted. What a coward. He only ever picked on women he thought were easy targets. I must have been out of my mind to ever fall for him. I picked idly at my ear, bored. Oh, defamation's illegal? Am I defaming anyone? You'd loved it when they were all attacking me. What, suddenly it's not fun when it's Tiffany on the receiving end. How touching. Your epic true love really brings a tear to my eye. I glanced over at the conductor, still standing in the corner, and nodded at Tiffany. That woman's trespassing in my paid berth. Can you please handle this? Liam stared at me, panicked. Sophia, don't be ridiculous. You can't kick a pregnant woman out. But this time, the conductor didn't take their side. I could see she was about to ask Tiffany to leave. I offered Liam a helpful little suggestion. If you care so much about her, why don't you give her your berth? The crowd let out a collective "oh," thick with sarcasm. Liam scrambled for an excuse. Tiffany's pregnant. If I leave, who's gonna take care of her? And my berth's an upper. How's a pregnant woman supposed to climb up there? I rolled my eyes. Wow, what a saint. Oh, so you only go for married women? That explains why you're never satisfied with me. The whole car burst out laughing. Nobody paid any more attention to Liam and Tiffany's drama. After Tiffany begged and whined, Liam finally caved and swapped berths with her. Before he left, he even had the nerve to tell me to look after her. I ignored him completely. Look after her? Look after my husband's mistress? He really had a lot of nerve. A kind middle-aged woman leaned over and patted my shoulder. Honey, why are you still with a man like that? Dump him. I nodded firmly. I'm definitely getting a divorce. Liam glowered at me. Sophia. I'm still right here. I didn't even look up. Oh. You're still here? Sorry, I forgot. I turned back to the woman. Anyway, like I was saying. I kept right on talking about him, right in front of his face, giving him zero respect. He stormed out of the car, face black with rage. I stretched out comfortably in my own berth. This time, I wouldn't have to sacrifice anything for that cheating, rotten couple. After everyone had turned on her, Tiffany was stuck alone in Liam's upper berth, nobody caring about her. But she still had the nerve to try ordering me around. Sophia, I'm thirsty. Get me a glass of water. Before I could say a word, one of the older women shut her down. You got hands and feet? Go get it yourself. I'm pregnant. How can you all treat me like this? The woman didn't back down an inch. Divorce rates are up because of trash like you. Back in the old days, you'd be shunned by the whole town for what you did. You know that? Tiffany had nothing to say back. Everyone in the car felt like they'd been played, so nobody gave her the time of day. Fuming, Tiffany called Liam and made him come help her. Liam, who'd already been standing for 45 hours, stumbled into the car looking exhausted. He got Tiffany her water, then turned on me, accusatory. Sophia, you used to be so nice. When did you get so cold-hearted? Oh, and you used to not cheat on your wife. When did that change? The passengers snickered and sneered. Liam shut up. Halfway through the trip, Liam couldn't stand anymore. He came over to ask if we could swap. I didn't even lift my eyes. I just jerked my chin toward the upper berth. Liam huffed, then turned to Tiffany, soft and coaxing. Tiff, come on. Let me lie down for a little while, huh? Tiffany turned him down sweet as sugar. Liam, I wish I could. But it's an upper bunk, and I'm pregnant. What if I fall climbing up or down? That was what Liam got for simping after her for all these years. Served him right. I spent the rest of the trip laughing and snacking with the other passengers, fitting right in. If it weren't for Liam and Tiffany acting up every few hours, it would have been a perfect ride. 40-some hours flew by. I gathered my things and stepped off the train feeling rested and energized. A minute later, Liam stumbled off, legs shaking, supporting Tiffany. When he saw me, he started complaining immediately. Why were you walking so fast? In a hurry to die? Go call us a car. I'm exhausted. And get a nice one, okay? Tiffany's pregnant. She can't ride in some cheap, smelly cab. Tiffany threw her arms around him, touched, and thanked him. Liam always acted like he owned the place. He was so used to me taking care of everything. He expected me to handle every little detail, like it was my job. After all, I had the money and the means. All he had to do was sit back and enjoy the ride. This time, I didn't argue. I pulled up a rideshare app and booked a private car. I loaded my own luggage into the trunk. From a distance, Liam yelled for me. Sophia. Hurry up and put our bags in the car. I just smiled at them. They really were perfect for each other. I got in the car, closed the door, and didn't look back. The driver pulled away, heading for the hotel address I'd given him. Liam stared, dumbfounded, as the car drove off. He limped after it for a few steps, but his legs were still numb from standing, and he tripped, falling flat on his face. I could hear him yelling after me, faint but furious. Sophia, you bitch. I sat back in the car, comfortable. Maybe I'd been too lenient with Liam all these years. Maybe that's why he thought he could humiliate me like this and I'd never leave. This farce of a marriage was over. It was about time someone learned what real hardship felt like. Liam always said he was the only son, and he'd lived far from his parents for years. He only got to see them on holidays, so every year I'd dutifully go home with him to visit. The first year we were married, I'd paid to completely renovate their small rural house, bought them new furniture and appliances, all to make their lives easier. Every holiday, I'd bring expensive gifts. They loved showing everything off to the neighbors. I'd barely gotten to my hotel room when Liam called. "Sophia, what's with the princess attitude? We were supposed to go see my parents for the holiday. What do you mean you bailed? Mom and Dad are asking where you are. Some wife you are, making old people worry about you." I scoffed. They weren't worried about me. They were worried about the gifts in my suitcase. Liam's whole devoted son act was funded entirely by my money. Without me, he'd show up empty-handed. I lounged on the hotel sofa, lazy and amused. "Oh, but you brought Tiffany, right? I didn't want to third wheel and ruin your little romantic getaway. So I got myself a hotel room. Aren't I being considerate?" Liam was furious, but he kept his voice down, like he didn't want his parents to overhear. "Enough already. I told you, Tiffany's just an old friend from back home. We came back on the same train. How long are you gonna keep this up? You're being so unreasonable. Mom and Dad have been asking about you non-stop. I'll give you 30 minutes. If you still want to be part of this family, you get back here now." He hung up. Just an old friend? Sure. More like he didn't dare tell them the truth. If his family hadn't hated how poor Tiffany was, and how she had a deadbeat brother, he would have married her years ago. Back on the train, I'd had my assistant pull all of Liam's expenses from the past few years. More than half of it had been spent on Tiffany. What a perfect bait-and switch he'd pulled. Married me for my money, then used it to keep his precious one that got away. Even Tiffany's prenatal appointments had come out of my bank account. I called my lawyer right then. Draw up divorce papers. And a full accounting of all the money he owes me. Right after I hung up, there was a knock at my door. I hadn't expected Liam to show up at the hotel, with his parents and half the family in tow. When I opened the door, Mr. and Mrs. Carter greeted me warmly, grabbing my hands. "Sophia, honey, why are you staying in a hotel?" Mrs. Carter glanced around the fancy room. "This place must cost a fortune a night. How can you spend money so recklessly?" I said nothing. Did I need the Carter family's permission to spend my own money? Mrs. Carter squeezed my hands, all maternal warmth. "I know you and Liam have been fighting. I already gave him a piece of my mind. Every couple fights. You make up, that's how marriage works. You'll get over it." She looked at me, serious and earnest. "Sophia, you and Liam aren't kids anymore. The problem with your marriage is you don't have children. A woman isn't complete until she's a mother. Liam's the only son we've got. The family line can't end with him. You can't put your career before your family, honey. That's not right." I raised an eyebrow. So Liam was blaming our childlessness entirely on me. With his parents backing him up, Liam hadn't said a word the whole time. "Oh, they wanted a baby? How perfect." I smiled sweetly at his parents. "You're right. We do need a baby in the family." Mr. and Mrs. Carter lit up, thrilled. They immediately started telling me to pack my things and come home with them. I said no. I gave them a small gift to tide them over, promised I'd come by the house tomorrow myself, and finally got them to leave. As they left, Mr. Carter muttered under his breath, "Spendthrift woman." I wasn't angry. Their days of leeching off me were almost over. The next morning, I brought my lawyer and all the paperwork over to the Carter house. On the way, I picked up Tiffany too. When she heard I'd brought her a holiday gift, she didn't hesitate to come along. When Liam saw Tiffany, he froze for half a second, then hurried over to help her out of the car, not caring who saw. Mr. and Mrs. Carter saw the whole thing. Mrs. Carter marched over and stepped between them, slapping Liam's hand off Tiffany's arm. "What do you think you're doing? Carrying on like that in public? Have you no decency?" Tiffany's face fell. It wasn't that Mrs. Carter liked me, she just hated the idea of her son getting tangled up with the Moore family. Everyone in town knew about them, the drunk father, the paralyzed mother, the deadbeat gambler brother. Anyone who got involved with Tiffany would be stuck supporting her whole deadweight family for life. Men loved playing hero. Too bad Liam only had the heart to feel sorry for her, not the money or spine to actually take care of her and her whole mess of a family. I smiled and pulled Tiffany to stand beside me. "Come on, we're practically family. What's with the cold shoulder?" Mrs. Carter shot me a sour look and snorted. "We'd have to be cursed for her to be part of this family." I glanced at Liam, amused, then turned back to Mrs. Carter. "Don't curse yourselves like that. Liam's gonna marry Tiffany soon. You two are gonna be family. It must be fate." Mrs. Carter and Liam spoke at the exact same time. "What did you say?" "That's ridiculous." One was shocked. The other was furious. Mrs. Carter stared at me, wide-eyed. "Sophia, what are you talking about?" I kept my tone calm. "You've always wanted a grandson, right?" I nodded toward Tiffany. "She's carrying your precious grandson. It's wonderful news. I even asked the doctor. It's a boy. I came over to congratulate you, your family line gets to live on." Mrs. Carter turned on Tiffany with a venomous look. Tiffany trembled where she stood, terrified. Liam stepped in front of Tiffany, shielding her protectively, and glowered at me. "Sophia, have you had enough? You're a barren woman. Am I supposed to let my family die out because of you? So I'm having a baby with Tiffany. What's it to you? It's not hurting you. Do you have to turn everything into chaos?" Liam didn't disappoint. He admitted it outright, right there in front of everyone. Saved me the trouble of pulling out all the other evidence I'd gathered. I just let out a flat "oh." Mrs. Carter, meanwhile, went weak in the knees and collapsed onto the ground. My lawyer, timing it perfectly, handed me the stack of papers. I took them and tossed them at Liam's chest. "Sign these, and you can spend forever with your true love." When he saw it was a clean break divorce settlement and a debt acknowledgement, he threw them on the ground without a second thought. "I'm not walking away with nothing. You're insane. Even if we get divorced, you owe me half your assets." For emotional distress. He really wanted to have his cake and eat it too. It was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. He'd lived off me for years, and now he wanted half my money too. Too bad for him, I'd come prepared. I clapped my hands twice. A construction crew walked in and lined up behind me. "Tear it down," I said. "All of it." Liam threw himself in front of the house without thinking. "What do you think you're doing? This is illegal." "Stop." I glanced at my lawyer, who stepped forward and held out a document. According to the law, Ms. Bennett is fully within her rights to demolish a house she paid to build. The whole Carter family froze, stunned. Mr. and Mrs. Carter started begging, crowding around me. "Sophia, honey, let's talk about this. Please, just talk to us." I ignored them completely. Mrs. Carter, furious, lunged at Tiffany. She tackled her to the ground and started slapping her over and over. Tiffany screamed, begging for Liam. "Liam! Help me!" "Ah!" I stood there, calm, watching the chaos unfold. Liam was torn. On one side, his pregnant one that got away. On the other, his family home. He hesitated for a long moment, then ran to Tiffany and shoved his mother roughly aside. He pulled Tiffany into his arms, comforting her, then yelled at the construction crew. Stop. Stop tearing it down. I'll sign. He turned to me, eyes blazing with hatred. Sophia, you're evil. You'll get what's coming to you. Huh. Karma, was it? I picked up the signed papers, glanced down at the tragic couple on the ground, and smiled softly. If there's karma coming, it's for you too. Not me. Before I left, I tossed Liam one last helpful reminder. Oh, by the way, on my way over, I had my people tell Tiffany's drunk dad that you got his daughter pregnant. I imagine he's on his way here right now. I smiled and walked away. I'd heard the Moores had been desperate for years to marry Tiffany off to someone. Everyone ran for the hills the second they learned about the family. Now that they had Liam as their fall guy, they'd cling to him for dear life. I'd barely stepped out of the yard when Mr. Moore showed up. He marched straight in and punched Liam so hard he spit blood. He turned on Tiffany, roaring. Shameless, worthless girl. You've shamed me completely. I was gonna get bride price for you, and you went and got yourself knocked up? He kicked her twice, hard, like he still wasn't angry enough. Then he rounded on Liam. You bastard. You got my daughter pregnant, and you're gonna pay for it. You hear me? You're marrying her. No choice. And you're gonna pay $88,000 in bride price. Otherwise, I'm going to the cops and saying you raped her. Liam's face burned with rage. You're selling your daughter? Is that what this is? Mr. Moore didn't even flinch. You slept with her. You don't get to negotiate. Pay up or go to prison. Your call. Mr. and Mrs. Carter, who'd just started catching their breath, almost passed out again. Turned out the only way to deal with a bully was with a bigger bully. I didn't stay to listen to any more of their screaming. I walked straight out of that poor, run-down little town. Liam still owed me money, and I'd have my assistant collect it regularly. But other than that? We were done. Later, my assistant told me what happened after I left. The Moores had moved right into the Carter house, shameless, and every day was chaos. Liam had to wait on Tiffany hand and foot during her pregnancy, plus take care of her paralyzed mother. Tiffany's brother showed up every other day begging for money. Eventually, Liam took all his anger out on Tiffany. He hit her so hard she miscarried. Tiffany dropped the sweet act then, and demanded compensation. It turned into a full-blown fight. They beat each other so badly they both ended up in the hospital, him with a broken leg, her with a broken arm. Even their injuries matched. Perfect couple. I smiled when I heard it. So much for true love. I signed a document and handed it to my secretary. The golden sunset light streamed through the office windows. When you cut the wrong people out of your life, everything gets better.